get them to work against who I was going to mention. What firm do you work with?
I got my own office, and I'm over with, pretty much what I do is half my time spent with the Eugene Public Defender, the other half's over at the university representing students.
Oh,
of course, transfer the price costs us up, go down because it's cost year.
oh, I was just, Aaron.
Is that right?
Never for Rotary Club.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not sure reviews about it.
No, me too. What I'm
She
reading
works real hard.
is so hard.
She comes in just like exhausted and makes about half the meetings, which is great.
Just sick of driving up I-5
Monthly or weekly?
Weekly meetings.
Oh, that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, for her. Sometimes she just comes in and she just, there's no energy in her eyes, and other times they, I think they would be a job I wouldn't want.
Volunteer.
Yeah.
They're certainly overworked right now.
Yeah,
Theoretically.
see if she can.
20 years ago, I had,
I see that you
and because each one.
Okay, everyone, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 5:30. Oh, wait, are you doing the agenda?
Yes, I'll do the agenda review. So
Okay.
we're going to have a discussion around meeting locations this evening. The chief's report will follow that, followed by a very exciting break. Animal Services, Jay Shadwick and Kelly Darnell will be here to give us a presentation on animal service, followed by our committee reports.
Okay, awesome. Does anyone have any issues with the agenda? Okay, so do you want to approve it? Anybody?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
One change.
Okay.
Sorry.
What?
I was writing while I was waiting. I just wanted to make a correction. It's no big deal.
Okay.
I was not present and absent at the last board meeting. So
Is that would be under notes or last?
That's when we get to the minutes.
Oh.
This is just the
Yeah,
agenda.
yeah, we're moving on.
I'm sorry, I thought you were doing the minutes already.
It's all good.
I was
Okay.
writing too much.
I had that time.
Thank you.
You can bring it up now. That's
fine.
next.
That seems to be the next thing. Yeah.
I was neither present nor absent last on the minutes, and I was here last meeting.
Are you catching these? Yes.
Oh, yeah, no name.
Okay.
Not at all.
Places at
Okay.
once.
And I was the absent the month before that, though, as it
Oh, I
was
think we already
reflected.
did that.
Yeah.
Wait, did we?
Yeah.
We got that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you got that one, yeah.
Any other corrections to the minutes? No? Okay. So without any objections, we'll just approve that unanimously. Okay, cool. So now we have public forum. Tamara?
I have one speaker signed up. Jessica C. Street. Jessica, please join us at the table.
Sure.
Well, I just want to say something about the trespass policy that's been reviewed and sent forward to you folks for your next meeting, I guess. I think I observed all or nearly all of the commission meetings when that was discussed. And there was, I would say, more public comment and public input on that policy than anything I recall that the police commission has dealt with since maybe tasers, social security numbers, SWAT policy. In other words, a great deal more public input than just about anything else you've had. And I myself was not really speaking to specifics of content, but I was hearing lots of other people raising things. And there was one time it was really evident that just about everybody in the room felt that a lot of the wording was vague and unclear and perhaps needed some kind of editing if you didn't want to continue with an unclear policy. But what's coming to you, what was passed by the majority was...
Okay.
There goes the chair.
You okay?
Oh, I'm okay, just roll up under me, yeah.
The only change that was made or recommended for you was a change in an administrative thing, and I don't think that there was even any public comment as to that particular administrative thing. So I really appreciate that two of the members did not vote in support of what's being passed on. I'm really concerned that the rest did, and I hope that when it comes to this full body, that you give it the proper consideration it needs, and I don't know if that means a bunch of people need to contact you with specifics between now and then, or a public forum then, or what. But if it goes forward from the full commission in the state that it's in now, I think it really raises a question of the credibility of the commission. And I don't want your credibility to be in doubt because of things like that. The value that this commission provides to the community, it's really kind of questionable when things like this come down the way that they have. So I urge you to really consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our public forum. I'd like to bring back over to Caitlin.
Okay. So now we have commission comments. Would anyone like to start? Yeah, Joe.
Okay, two things. Last month I went to see a film that played at the Bijou as part of the Pacific Coast Film Festival called Alien Boy, which was about a mentally ill man who was killed while in the custody of police. And it's amazing footage that they have from the surveillance videos and the like inside the police station. But they have settled all the lawsuits for $3.6 million. So there are some repercussions that may, have an impact on our stuff too. Second thing was the Gang Symposium. The film is not going to be out in DVD for a while, but they have been willing. I talked with the producers, and they are willing to arrange a showing for city officials if folks want to see it. And then the second thing was the Gang Symposium. I went to that. I guess I saw Linda there. No one else. And we only had two commissioners, or we had Kitty and Greg, I guess, was there also from the city council. And of the people that were there in January, I would say that we only saw about 1/4 of them. So not a very good showing for the second Gang Symposium. There was, I thought the presentation, Professor Blazik, however, yeah. I thought his presentation was outstanding, and they had a panel of 5 former gang members that I thought dispensed some really excellent wisdom. I think it's been videotaped. If you have a chance to see the presentations, I think it would be well worth watching. Thank you.
George?
None.
I'll pass as well.
I'll pass also.
Okay, just to be clear, you don't get a second time in this agenda. You saw that, right?
No.
So make sure you're passing, and you're not gonna get mad about it later.
There's no closing comment?
Nope. Cut those
No.
babies out. You wanna go back, Jesse?
No.
Okay. Linda?
I thought that was a good question. I thought that would be closing comment, but no, I'll pass.
Everyone keeps ending the
Powder
meetings early, so I
dry.
cut out stuff, so we could stay here and talk. Okay. Bob?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
In my capacity as with the Oregon Advocacy Commission, we all signed off and we approved, and it was passed through the legislation to have people that are undocumented the ability to get driver's license. So that was a success. The governor signed off on it, and we're working on some other legislation still dealing with hate crimes. One of the things, it originally entitled Senate Bill 44. It died in the Senate floor and in session, and we found out why, because of the word hate. So we redesigned and rephrased the word hate, so it's now acceptable, and now they're considering it. So the actual makeup, conduct, and language and stuff is still the same, It's just some of the legislators had a problem with the word hate. So regardless of how it reads, just as long as it's effective and it takes care of the issue and stuff, and that's really to stop. It's going to be called bias crimes instead of hate crimes now. So, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Carlos?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too want to say thank you to the Oregon Commission of Hispanic Affairs, the Black Affairs, and the Asian Affairs also, as well as CAUSA and of course LULAC being involved in the recovering all those driver's licenses. It really is about road safety and economic development. So thank you for all the efforts. I want to also share with you that LULAC, Lane County, the League of United Latin American Citizens, Lane County is hosting a national forum on immigration with the national speaker. His name is Tom Sands of the Mexican American Legal Defense Fund. He's the actual president of the legal council coming into town for the forum. So that is on May the 25th. I know some of you have asked me whether or not LULAC was going to be involved. Of course we are. That's part of our national platform. Secondly, I'm looking forward to see what the police commission is doing. In not only where we're going to decide on Saturday, but where the police commission is going as a body. Because certainly it has changed since I first started. I'm also looking forward to see how we're going to be making the necessary changes that we need to make a more effective and more, in sometimes, harmonious committee at the policy and screening review committee. So the policy work is very important, and that committee's work is extremely important for us to continue to move forward. But I'm looking forward to see what are the necessary changes that we have to make to continue to be not only effective, but as you heard one of our public comments, to also recover the credibility of the police commission in entirety. Thank you.
I got a note, and then a letter, and then another note, as did all city councilors and the mayor, from a young lady in our community who was very thought-provoking, very well-spoken, very polite. And I hadn't seen any of my colleagues address her point or respond to her. It has to do with police procedures, so I thought this was the place to bring it, and I thought I was the guy to do it. So her question was, why is it, or is it policy, that officers in Eugene don't give out warnings of any kind? And is that in fact policy, and if so, why? And I don't mean to put you on the spot like that, Chief, but you're a pretty tough guy, so I figured maybe if you have a minute, I'd love to know the answer to that.
How do you want to deal with the...
But that's I may be out of line to bring that up as a question right now, but I wanted to make them aware of it. If we have the time, I'd love to.
I can give a 30-second response.
That's awesome.
There's some departments do and some don't.
Mm-hmm.
Our officers warn drivers all the time. We just don't issue a piece of paper that says that they've been warned. We don't make a record of it unless we complete a field interview card. And on the interview card indicate that the person was observed speeding or committing some traffic infraction. They were literally warned. But I think we warn far more people than we issue citations to.
Okay. The young lady asked, I think mentioned in her note that she was told by the officer that no warnings, or that's where she got that.
We don't issue a piece of paper that says they've been warned. That's true.
Thank you for your answer. I appreciate it, sir.
They're not required to give a warning, no?
Officers?
Right.
No, we encourage them to use their best discretion in deciding how to enforce the law in the moment.
Thank you.
So a reminder, our retreat is this weekend. It's from sometime in the morning around 9, right? 9 to 1. And it's at the Amazon, somewhere on Amazon. Yeah. Wow, great reminder, right? Okay.
Studio B.
Huh?
In Studio B.
There we go. Thank you all for piecing that together for me. So I hope you all can make it. It will be a very interesting retreat. It'll probably be the first time we have like a come to Jesus talk with everyone about where we've been and where we're going and where we're at now. And think it's going to be really interesting to discuss all of those. So I really hope everyone can make it. Linda, you're making
I can make it, but I won't make it because I'm going off
What?
in June. I think they're going to reassign someone in June.
Oh.
And I did have it planned. I guess it's Mother's Day weekend, that's more important. But I can probably come to half of it if that's okay.
Linda, anytime you can grace
So
us
I
with your
can pass on
presence,
to them.
you're good to go.
Okay. I'll try half of it so I
Okay.
can pass it on to.
So we'll see
next
Linda
person.
sometime during that day, but the rest of you, I'll see you the whole time, yeah? Okay, I wanted to touch base about something that came up in policy and screening and review committee. The idea of how to capture dissenting opinions and minority opinions. So I brought this up at the last commission meeting. If we take a vote on a policy and we move it to the full commission, and let's say there are people that don't agree with it in the policy committee, okay? At that time, I'm encouraging them to go home, write a dissenting opinion little memo, small, like 1 page. I mean, you could go crazy, but no one's gonna read that much. So write something at that time. At that time, at the next commission, when it comes to the commission, the thing that we pass to commission, they will have their little memo dissenting, because most likely their opinion has not changed. We will talk about it here. They can bring up the same points. We will vote. At the time, no matter, however the vote goes, let's say if we pass it on to the chief, our recommendation as a body will go to the chief, but so will their memo. Okay? And if you, at the time at this commission, dissent at that time too, you are welcome to write a memo. Carter will capture the memos and give them to the chief with our vote, okay? If you have questions or you think of a better way to do that, please let me know. Like, this is open, but that is the best consolidated way I could think of to capture these things and give it to the chief. So I want to touch base on that. But we are talking about it again at policy screening review. And so if something changes between then and now, we will let you know. I need a volunteer.
Me.
May 24th, during the day, so it probably can't be someone who's at work that day. May 24th, the Animal Services is having a, here's where we're at, let's go over what we do and
What time?
see how awesome we are. It's like a big chunk of the day. It's like 9 to 3 or something. She's also going to be here so she can clarify the times.
I
But
have
it's May
that Friday,
24th.
I have that day open.
Awesome. So maybe you could touch base with her before she leaves. Yeah? On the break. She'll be here at the break. Cool.
Can I
Thank you for
get some
that.
kind of time? You don't know.
Yeah, but do you know the time?
No, but the manager of the Animal Services office is going to be here at 7:30, so she can tell you exactly when it is.
Yeah, but initially put like 9 to 3 in your calendar. Remember?
And that's the 24th, isn't it?
Yep. Okay, awesome. That's it. Tamara?
Pass.
Awesome. Okay. Now on to meeting locations. Did everyone get Carter's email about what she discovered? She basically discovered that we can meet downtown. It's not a big deal anymore. We can do it, but that would require someone who voted in the winning category to move to reconsider.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So Harris Hall's the location you're speaking about, correct?
Yes.
What's the parking situation for that, for the public? Do you know? I mean, I don't know if you know, if anybody knows. Mike knows.
There are several streets in the downtown area with no meters whatsoever for parking.
Always full?
What's that?
That are usually full?
5:30.
Well, that's a
At
great
5:30.
thing. That's a wonderful thing. But there are also a number of meters that are then not enforced after 6, I believe is the time frame. But so anybody who's parking needs 30 minutes worth of coins if they're on the street. Or the overpark is a block and a half away from Harris Hall. And I believe the first hour is free, but I may be wrong about that. And
That's true.
So if I can repeat what I think I heard you say back, there is on-street parking available, however, there's no,
Limited.
there may not be parking available at 5:30 near that building, the PSB, is that which building it's in? Yeah.
Public services.
And if you are lucky enough to find a parking place, you need to pay 30 minutes on the meter, or more, depending on how early before the meeting you arrive. Is that right? Okay. And if you want to walk a block and a half, there and back,
Bark the oak bark, yeah.
and in the dark.
All up and down the Lamets Street.
I wonder how you feel
By
about
yourself in high heels. Yeah, okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so just to clarify, when we moved to not discuss this again, if you voted to not discuss our meeting location, then you can move to reconsider.
And what about those who were not, I was not part of the,
You can't move to reconsider.
Okay.
You have to be in the winning,
In the affirmative.
yes. So unless I get a motion in like 30 seconds, we are moving on and we are staying here, baby.
I was the only dissenting vote, so anybody can move.
James?
I'm kind of confused. What are we doing if we make a motion to move, or if we say nothing, then we stay here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think we should move.
Did you vote in the affirmative?
To move?
Yeah,
Yes.
everyone did, but just
No. The vote was to stay here. And the question is, if you voted in the affirmative to stay here, you may move to reconsider that for the body. If you voted against the idea of staying here, do I have that right?
yeah, but everyone
Then-
voted to stay here besides
Right.
Jesse.
Wait.
Yeah, so James is good.
So you can move to reconsider.
Yeah, I'll move to reconsider.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay. So now we are discussing this motion of whether we want to move to Harris Hall, and you can say a number of meetings or just indefinitely.
Why are you saying Harris Hall? I thought there was other options, Madam Chair.
Harris Hall, that's true, Juan Carlos. Harris Hall is the one that Carter has already figured everything out for us. So if you, last time on that huge grid, you know, that Carter gave us?
Right, I've been reading it quite a bit.
Yeah, so we all kind of decided there was no good option because a lot of them closed early, a lot of them had zero parking, blah, 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 blah. Harris Hall fits all of our options, and Carter has already scheduled it out if we want it. So that's why we're just talking about Harris Hall right now. But you can introduce something else if you'd like.
You know, Madam Chair, I do like, and I don't, the motion's meant to reconsider, and I don't know if we're at a point, but you just want to have a discussion, and I do like the option of Harris Hall, and I do like the option even the atrium. I think some of the things that were presented here as impediments or challenges, the Human Rights Commission has been meeting there forever. The Planning Commission also meets there forever. So I don't see that a lot of issues there. I will want to support Harris Hall if that's what the body wants to do. But I also want to make sure that folks that, if they're not able to go for whatever reason, they're not able to go to the county. If they have a legal reason or they're not able to step foot in there, that while the city is conducting business, that they in fact will be welcomed while the city in fact is in there. And I don't know how that will happen, but I want to make sure that that is considered by this body. Because I should know that we, the Police Commission, in fact, held 1 or 2 meetings in which we did not consider those who might have something to say that they simply could not come. One of them was the downtown payments exclusion zone. So I just want to put it out there that I will be supportive of, obviously, the meeting at City Hall, but with the understanding that folks that may not be part of the county, that they can, while the city is, in fact, conducting business.
It is, okay. I have Mike and Jesse.
Thank you. I'll vote against the motion to reconsider because I believe the room settled the question, but also because I believe that meeting here is the best option and the best opportunity for the body to accomplish its mission, which is to make recommendations to the council and to the chief. I think that the body is best served when it's debating those recommendations in a place where it has access to the resources it needs in order to consider those decisions.
Thank you. Jesse?
Harris Hall is across the street from where we used to meet, as far as I know. Nobody ever complained about where we used to meet. As far as inclusivity, it's outside of the downtown public safety zone, so most everybody's going to be able to go to it. I will definitely support moving there.
Okay, thanks. Tamara, Bob, then Jim.
I'm going to vote against the motion to reconsider. We've talked about this. This is the fifth time now. I just feel like my number one consideration is access for the public. We've heard from a few members of the public about that, but I think about the locations that we've considered, and if we're talking about this location versus Harris Hall, part of access is being able to park your car there. And I brought this up before, but it's hard to remember when it's light outside at this time that in the winter, both when we come to the police commission meeting at 5:30 sometimes, and when we leave the police commission meeting at much later than that, it's dark outside. And a block and a half away doesn't sound like a lot, but I feel like that is a risk for people who might be walking by themselves, even though people feel generally safe in our community. That's quite a distance in the dark, especially if you're by yourself. And I just feel like it's not serving the public well to put our location at a place where there's not ample, free, readily available parking, as there is here. You can pull in the lot, you can park, you can walk right in. You don't have to pay. You don't have to risk getting a ticket if you don't pay, which I know people in this commission have done. When we were at the old McNutt room, people received tickets on the street for not paying the meter. I just don't feel like that's good public access, so I'm voting against the motion.
Bob, Jim, George.
Yes, we have gone over this as said a number of times, and it's the same reasoning. I mean, it's simpler for staff to bring their material right downstairs to the meeting and be prepared if they have to go get something, to go get it and get it for us if we need it. And I think the other problems that have existed are still there with the atrium closing at 6 o'clock. The worst thing we could probably do is to invite people to come and then find out the door's locked when they get there at 6 if they arrive a little late. The library, people are excluded from the library, that they're not allowed to set foot on there because of behavior problems. So some people can't go in there. I imagine some people are excluded from the atrium for the same reason. Ironically, this is probably the one city facility that nobody can be excluded. They have to be able to have access to the police so they can come here. And for every other reason, other than that, it's safe, there's parking, I just can't think for the life of me a reason why we'd want to change. I just don't see it, so I'll be voting against the motion. Thank you.
Okay, just to remind everyone, this will be the last time we talk about this, because we will have, after we consider, this baby's dead. Dead as a doornail. So get it out now.
Just someone recompose street.
Just letting you know. Jim, George, James, Juan Carlos.
I also will be voting against the motion. I think a lot of the issues have already been raised, so I'm not sure I need to hit them again. One question I had was, do they have any kind of video equipment that can be used, or would everything have to be transported? Does anybody know?
I have no idea. Mike, do you know? So you need there?
I don't believe they have it in the Sloat room in the atrium. They do
Harris
Harris
Hall.
Hall, but it's fairly significant process to set it up because it's like a movie screen.
So,
Yeah, we'll have to-
so they were losing. Sorry, go ahead, Chief.
We'll have to carry equipment from here down there if we want to use technology.
So there again is a resource issue, and I know it may not be very far, but if you're asking the chief to go down there, or you're asking a lieutenant to go down there, sometimes you're asking Carter, you're asking other EPD staff. My understanding is most of that is overtime when they come to our meetings. Is that correct? If it's line staff?
Yes, it can be if they're not on duty.
So there you're talking more expense because it's going to be more drive time. And we're in a situation in this city where we don't want to be spending any more than we absolutely have to, so I can't support it.
Okay, George.
I'm here to do business. I am not here to consider the same subjects over and over and over again. For crying out loud, this is just really not what this commission is about. We're to do business. We're wasting time. There's 8 or 10 of us here. How many hours do we have to waste? Let's make a decision and stick with our decision. It's been brought up numerous times. I'm real frustrated that we go and backtrack, reopen doors, because it's a waste of time. And remember, our time is not renewable. What we spend today, we don't have tomorrow. And we're here on a mission, and I hope to God the mission is not to decide where we're going to be. So I want to stay here just because that's where we're at.
Thank you. James?
Was someone else? I have to say, I'm kind of sad that the discussion has gone off into this realm, because it's not about what we as commissioners want. It's supposed to be about the community, what they want. And so far, I've heard a lot of discussion about what's best for the commission, resources that are available, and parking, and all these things. All these things that benefit the commission, and no one has brought up about the community. And that's what this commission was designed for, the community, and not about us individually, how we're comfortable, what we're comfortable with. And we're talking about people from EPD going to other venues and stuff, and they're doing that now. So there are innovative ways to take care of these solutions and stuff. So I want to say that a lot of the issues that were raised are really, I don't think that they are valid, because they are self-serving and they are not including the intent, in which is the community. I think that we should be focusing on the community and not as much as our own comforts. So I just had to get that out there. I'm kind of sad that this discussion has even come to that and stuff. And I respect everybody's opinions and stuff. But that's my position on this.
Thank you. I have one, Carlos, Caitlin, and Mike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Police Commission recommends to the City Council, City Manager, Police Department, and the people, the resources, preferred policing and policies, and so on and so forth. At the committees and at this room, I have not heard one single citizen or resident come to us to actually confirm and to support what most of your colleagues, with all the respect, have said. A lot of the feedback we have received from the public is that they want access, the same type of access that you're trying to get. Thus, that's the feedback we have received when we open up for the public. At some point, we have to listen to that. We have to listen to folks that they're not able to come all the way over here because they feel intimidated or simply access. One of the options, which is the atrium, sure, the front door is locked at 6, but the back door, which is always unlocked, that's access. I've gone to those meetings. The atrium building does have equipment to use. I've seen the Planning Commission, seen the Human Rights Commission use that room. They have the equipment. We have to be open to the public. We have to be open to those who, they don't have any other place to go and give us feedback. We don't have the Human Rights Commission's capacity anymore to be the advocacy. Certainly, the police auditor doesn't do that and should not be doing that. The Police Commission, although we don't do that either, we have been receiving feedback on the actual policy and the work that we've been doing. I'm too disappointed that some of the comments have been, in my perspective, in what the respect has been self-serving. I also don't want to waste time on things like this, but also want to make sure that we understand why we are here and our role. I surely be voting in favor of moving so be closer to the people, and the people that are, in fact, want to see transparency and want us to regain the trust and regain the effectiveness of this police commission. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Chief, do you have something to say?
Oh, I just wanted to make sure that there's not any concern about how this would affect the police department. You'll get, no matter where we host the meetings, you'll get the same level of service that you're getting today in today's budget. Anyway, nobody knows right now what's going to happen in FY14. It won't be any less convenient for me or for our staff. It'll be less convenient for Carter, no question about it, but we're committed to having the meeting wherever you want it. I just didn't want that to be a factor in the decision.
Thank you, that was very considerate for you to mention. Okay, I have, yes, I'm just gonna read off my list real quick so you know what's coming. I have me, Mike, Tamara, Linda, and Joe. Okay, I completely respect everyone's opinions on this issue. I think that if we've heard one piece of feedback consistently throughout the year, it's that every single person that comes in here does not like that we meet here. And I can ignore a lot of things, but I can't ignore that. I think if we can achieve one thing to help the public come and speak to us more, and it's just move our location, I think that we should do it. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I just want to say that. However, I would also like to say that I think this is an important issue, but I think that we are making it more important than the actual work we do, and that concerns me. We're getting a lot of slack for not being very effective, and there are serious budget cuts coming up. And I don't know if anyone else has realized that this commission could be cut. I'm not saying that it'll go away. Chief can decide to have it on his own if he wants, but people are looking at us to see if we are being effective. And when we are spending 40 minutes on multiple meetings discussing this, I can't help but think that that doesn't look very good. So I really want everyone to say their piece and really just make a conscious effort to have this be done. I mean, we're not discussing it again, but if you have something new to say, please feel free to stay on the speaker's list. If not, just pass and speak with your vote. Mike, Tamara, Linda, Joe.
Thank you. One of the things that I really like about serving on council right now is that, different from previous years, we don't throw things at each other anymore, which we used to do at council, as a matter of fact. And we used to say some pretty nasty things to one another and about people that testified too. Now, I really I value my friendship with George Brown, who I'd let watch my kids if he would, because I trust him, but I disagree with him on just about everything. I find myself in a similar place here that kind of makes me feel uncomfortable, because I know I disagree with my two friends on the left, and I have great respect for them, so I...
It's not political, is it?
No, but it always freaks me out when I do. I want to make sure that I have something clear here. It's my understanding, though, that the purpose and mission of the police commission itself is something that maybe I'm misunderstanding. It's important for commissioners, I think, to get public input in whatever fashion they do so that it helps with their decision making. But their decision making is about recommendations. Essentially, the purpose of the commission is public input, and we are all the members of the public whose input is needed to the people actually making the decisions. Because the chief and the council are the only ones who are actually making a decision about policy. This is the public input in the room, and how commissioners get that from the general public is up to them, and it's certainly, I think, a good idea for us, obviously, to have a public forum. But it's my understanding that this body is the public opinion that informs the decision makers. It's intelligent and informed opinion, and that's the reason for it. And my reason for wanting to meet here is for us to have the very best tools at our disposal in order to be able to make the best recommendations.
Thanks, Mike. Tamara, Linda, Joe.
So I already spoke about public access, and I'm not going to repeat that. But I do think that in the 7 years that I've been on the police commission, we've had a few people come speak at different times from the public in our public comments that are not the people that we've seen come to the commission on a repeated basis. But I will say, as I reflect on that 7 years, that basically I've seen most of those same people arrive at this location for public comment as I have when we were at the McNutt room. I don't know if that's any more convenient to get to or less convenient to get to for those folks, but I've seen some of the same people here, most of the same people come here for public comment that I saw at the McNutt Room. Outside of when we were working on TASER, usually the folks that come to our meetings and comment are the same folks. And so if we're saying we think we'd get more public comment if we were at a different location, I would challenge that that's not necessarily true. And as far as the public and having them have access, who's more comfortable at which location, I think we've heard from a vocal minority of folks that attend our meeting. That doesn't mean that they are representative of the voice of the entire community. Thanks.
Thanks, Chairman. Linda, and then Joe.
For the sake of time, I pass.
Joe.
Running away.
My only comment is that for a large part of the population that is heavily affected by police policy, this is simply not friendly ground. They won't come here.
Okay, I have George and then myself.
And I want to point out that I'll bet you there is a lot of our general public that wouldn't want to go to Harris Hall in the dark, in the rain, where there is parking. So I agree with you that it's some of the minority, vocal minority, that will do it. This is convenient. This is about very close to halfway in the meeting because we have everyone out Coburg Road. So it is accessible by, I would say, the majority of people. So I think it serves us well to have it here. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to close discussion. So take a second, think about your vote. This will be your last vote on this discussion. Okay, so actually, we don't have a motion for where to go. We
The
just
motion is to reconsider or not.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you would like to stay here, you need to vote no. And if you would like to move, you need to vote yes. Okay? All those in favor of reconsidering the discussion on our meeting location, please vote yes by raising your hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, the noes have it. Or stay.
I did get 4 yeses, is that correct?
5.
Yes, raise your hand.
Yeah, it's 5.
Oh, okay, Bob.
No, that's the yeses, so.
No, Bob voted no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna.
So what's?
Well, what about at the
Can I go,
yes?
man? Yeah, can I just get the yeses one more time,
He
please?
needs to
Hands of the
put
yeses.
names.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Get the secretary
Okay.
getting it right.
Thank you, everyone,
I'm
for
not
discussing
Shorthand?
this issue. Again, I really appreciate you all being so passionate about this topic, and I hope moving forward that everyone can be at peace with their decision. Now, Chief's report.
Okay. I'll just stay here.
Oh. What was that? Did he have to go?
Oh, yeah, he told me beforehand. He's not mad. Well, he might
I
be.
was just wondering if he's leaving from the boat. That made me a little scared there.
You going up
Oh,
on
I
the
can change
screen?
it for you also.
Oh, he's good.
I wasn't here, I came late.
I'm gonna make it easy on you.
Well, she mentioned that before anybody else came in.
He didn't like being left.
Okay, everyone.
Is it not working? Oh, here, I'll
What's,
just really.
He didn't like being left.
yeah, I suppose I understand that entirely.
No, he said he'd said he was going to be
I'm
gone.
going to come sit next to you.
Sweet.
First of all, I want to thank Lieutenant Reynolds for filling in for Carter.
We'll see how this all works out at the end of the night.
No, that's not a straight.
You can
line. I
always,
don't know what it is.
you can reserve your thank yous to me, but I know how hard it is to take notes, and if you don't do it often, it's a challenging thing to do. Anyway, I appreciate it, Nate. What you see here is that we didn't think we were going to be able to have the Safety Town Camp this year because of budget cuts, but we are very innovative managers, figured out a way to do it, and for the last couple of months, they've been finding funding for the equipment that you need in order to run that camp, which is a really cool thing. And kids who go to that learn skills that they have with them for the rest of their lives. And that's not an exaggeration. It's pretty cool deal. I'm glad we can do it. And then Delta Rotary, there are many, you guys all know that. There's many Rotary groups in Eugene and Springfield. Delta is the one that that honors law enforcement members once a year. And so Springfield, Oregon State Police, and Eugene Police Department present an individual from our agency that's performed exceptionally well in the last year. They've been doing this for about 26 years, I think. This year, we nominated Sergeant David Matt, and he's just had a very good year. He's the kind of guy that you can absolutely depend on to do the job right. And his team, he's a patrol sergeant. The officers that work for him like working for him. He runs a very squared away team, and they share information really well. I sat in one of his briefings and was just awestruck at what a great job he does with them, and they enjoy the kind of leadership that he provides. Wink. And then this is some of the things that I've done in the previous month. Of course, I attend in-service training, and I speak normally in the first half hour or so on timely issues. I'm involved, as you know, in the U-Boat Chiefs selection process, and that's chugging along. I'll probably be able to tell you a little bit more next month about that. The Oregon Fallen Officers Memorial Service was this week. Public Safety Coordinating Council had a working group to discuss the work plan. I wasn't able to attend that one, but I am involved in moving some of their efforts ahead. And then a community member hosted a discussion at their home about restorative justice. We have 2 teen courts right now, and we found funding for a 3rd teen court through a grant at Sheldon High School. It's going to be modeled very strictly after the restorative justice model. So we're kind of excited to see how that goes. The other 2 teen courts, which are based on restorative justice, are potentially will lose funding this next year. They would be in the fee didn't pass, then they would be in the city manager's reduction plan. And then Captain Durr and I met with all the sergeants and lieutenants to talk about the lieutenant vacancies we have and hear their thoughts on the role of a lieutenant in the organization and what, if anything, we might do differently, and those have been interesting meetings. And then every year for the last few years, I've been invited to speak at the Peace and Conflict class. Bob Walker joined me one year, and Mark Gissner has, and it's always very interesting to hear the questions they have. The experience I had this time is that after the class, a number of students stuck around, and one guy walked me out to my car. He's formerly homeless. He told me a little bit about his experience as a homeless person, and there's just so much to learn from somebody who's been down that road about things that we could be doing a little bit differently to make their life easier, I think, in pretty healthy ways. And then it's not up here, but I read to a 3rd grade class out at Meadowview School, and then the teacher was really nice to have the kids send cards, thank you cards, and she told them, but if you want to hear back from me, you better have questions. So I had 30 questions to answer. I spent a Sunday afternoon writing my report back to the 3rd grade class.
Okay, what were some of the questions?
They were fascinated with the canine program. They want to know how many people I've arrested, things like that. They usually ask how you get your shoes so shiny, things like that.
Could you show? Oh, they are.
And then the next slide, we had some wild arrests this last month. In this one, I believe this is a Molotov cocktail that was thrown through somebody's window on April 12th. The suspect got in his car, drove off. He was drunk. He ran into another car and then went downtown, ran into a second car, and we were able to track him down. We just followed the damage and tracked him down. And he was arrested for drunk driving and a bunch of other offenses. And then at the Walmart out on Green Acres on April 12th, somebody probably with a severe mental health condition went out and started cranking off rounds, and we were able to track him down. And We had only one exclusion request in the last month. It was someone who was selling hashish and also had marijuana within 1,000 feet of the school down there. Had a little bit of a frustration in the previous month when we ran an undercover operation. Officer bought, first-hand purchase from a suspect of marijuana, 3 different suspects, and the district attorney's office was unable to prosecute on any of them because of capacity. So that's not good, that crimes go without answer.
Did they not have any fine at all?
Nothing, no. They're just, the district attorney just does not have enough
Did
lawyers.
the police
to
get their
handle
money
it.
back, at least?
Oh, we got all the evidence back. And then there's a prolific property crime offender, just one of many. But his name's Elijah McLaughlin, 33 years old. He had a bunch of warrants and a loaded handgun when he was stopped by police. We were able to prove that he committed a number of burglaries. He was charged with 4 burglaries, 3 thefts, felon in possession of a firearm, and failure to appear charge. And then on April 19th, there was a home invasion robbery on West 27th Avenue. Officers arrived on scene and looked in the front door up the stairs just as the suspect was coming out and bringing the stolen shotgun that he got from the house around on the officer. He fortunately dropped the shotgun when he was ordered to, ran out of back, jumped off a back second-story window onto a roof and off, and I think our canine captured him. But that was a close call. In fact, within about a 24-hour period there, we had 2 incidents where officers came very close to having to shoot somebody. And then on May 9th, around 10:30 in the evening, a woman out on River Road heard somebody come in her kitchen door and thought it was a relative that was stopping by. It turned out to be somebody grabbing her toddler out of her house.
Must have been May
This might be 8.
7th or 8th or something.
Pardon?
Today's the
Today's the
9th.
9th.
Oh, yeah, probably. I think it might have gone out on the 9th today. And anyway, so she got her child back, wrestled with the suspect a little bit, and he took off, and we're still looking for him. And then I got these out of chronological order a little bit, but on May 7th, you might have heard about the traffic crash downtown, intoxicated man crossing the street. He was hit by one car, and then the next car drove over him, and he was drugged a little bit. People in the shops across the street came out with jacks, and they were going to jack the car up, but that was going to take too long, so 2 officers and a community member picked the car up, and while others pulled him out, and he went to the hospital with some very serious injuries, but it does look like he's going to survive, so that's good. And then our crime maps. You see a pretty typical pattern here. Let's see if the pointer works on this bad boy. All right. A pretty typical pattern for the last 4 weeks, but there has been a greater concentration in the West University neighborhood, and a little bit of a unique crime spree going on there. Our stolen vehicles have gone down in the last week, but our burglaries have gone up, and as I just mentioned, there's been a little bit of a concentration right here. We got a slide coming up the next slide that will help explain that. What you see is that we had these burglaries, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They all happened between these hours here, middle of the night, and they happen in a very small geographical area. And the suspects on a couple of them sound exactly the same. 2 men, white guy and a black guy, and they're jiggling doors and going through unlocked doors and windows while people are home.
Chief, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is that fairly typical of this time of year when people are leaving like their windows open because the temperatures are rising, or is that not what happened in most cases?
I don't think this is open windows. I think it's mostly open doors. I don't have my glasses on, but pretty sure that's what it was. And but we do get cat burglars in the summertime, and sometimes they're after property.
Stealing cats.
Sometimes they are. Sometimes it's more terrifying than that, and they're committing sex offenses. going in through open windows, and we should be ramping up our crime prevention tips on that here pretty soon. And then in the next slide, thank you, should be, maybe I've skipped one.
There's a big one right there.
I've got a page that looks like this.
That should be, that is.
That's
That's
it,
the top
okay. This is what we call Beat 1, which is the Fair Street Bridge, Willa Kinsey, Harlow Association neighborhoods. And this is the 4-week look on the right. And then on the left, you see this is burglary on Cal Young, some car clouds on Gillum, I think. And anyway.
Yeah, that's Gillum, and then the other north and south is Nora Kenzie, and then that's Good Pasture that's coming across where the home break-in
Nora
was.
Kenzie there.
So I know because my house is right in the middle of it.
Yeah,
That's why I'm-
that's not a bad one for that beat. It's been worse. And then in the next one, thank you. Beat 2 is downtown and the West University neighborhood. And we're just seeing this concentration that I've already talked about a couple times. All right. Beat 3 is southeast Eugene and has part of the near University neighborhood. And this string of burglaries here heading out, not Amazon,
Hilliard.
but Hilliard, thank you.
Or no, what is that?
Patterson.
Hilliard and Patterson
Patterson.
here, yeah. It's interesting, but we don't know quite what to make of that yet. And then Beat 5 is, this is Jim's neighborhood out here, River Road, but Beat 5 is the Bethel Danabo area where we're seeing this chronic problem of auto theft and recovered vehicles. So you'd think there's a combination there. And then these icons here represent some problem houses where we know there are groups of, prolific offenders living there. So we try and spend as much time with them as we can and try to understand why they're committing these crimes and put them in jail when we can. And then this is our stolen and recovered vehicle map. This is something we've been looking at for the last few months. Stolen cars are going down, but it is a little frustrating that we can't get a better handle on it. And there is a particular problem out here in Bethel Danabo, because there's so many stolen cars associated apparently with the recovered. There's somebody operating out there that steals a car, drives around the corner, and then steals what they want out of the car. So for someone out there, it's not so much the car they're interested in, they just like driving away before they take stuff out of it. And then this is an analysis that the Crime Analysis Unit is doing on stolen and recovered cars. They're just studying it as closely as they can, trying to find the relationship between where cars are stolen and where they're recovered so that we can figure out where the people live that are doing this. Okay. And then the Crime Analysis Unit makes a recommendation every week, and this week it's that area from 11th to 18th, Pearl to Alder, West University neighborhood, where those midnight burglaries are happening. And so that team, their job is to track those people down.
Do you track tagging at all?
Not very much. It's just
I've been tagged on the West 7th and All Maiden 3 times in the last week and a half. Somebody was supposed to call me back yesterday, but they didn't.
Yeah, you probably called it into, ultimately went to our desk officer who will call you back. Then we have a few things going on with hiring. Our PIO coordinator, Melinda McLaughlin, has an assistant normally works with her. That person went to the city attorney's office for a new career opportunity. So we've got a finalist for that position that we're backgrounding right now. And then there are 11 finalists for the dispatch center. I think we're down 10 or 11 positions right now. 20 officers for background. We have, today, I think we have 5 or 6 vacancies in our sworn ranks. That goes all the way from captain down to police officer. We anticipate that there will be 3 sergeants retiring in the next month, and I know that with some PERS reforms that have happened in the legislature this last year, some folks who are on the cusp of retiring are just going anyway, just to reduce the likelihood that they'll lose anything. And so we're going to have quite a few more vacancies. But we'll hold a few until we understand what the Budget Committee and the City Council are going to do with the 14 budget. And then we have a vacancy for in the crime analysis unit, and we're going to fill that. And then we have new postings for captain in the 911 center. And that's about it. What do you want to do? Questions? Let me just take them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has, or you probably don't know the sale of the clubs. How many clubs are being sold for securing vehicles? Or do you have
I don't know the numbers. We used to get a report on them every month, but it ranges from 10 to 20.
I've been pushing them in my newspaper article. I'm
Good.
just wondering if there's been an influx.
I don't know recently. If there
Okay.
has been.
Advertising does work.
Yes.
Hey, Chief, how you doing? Great report, as always. I think that's one of the highlights of the meetings and stuff, to see all the great work that the police officers are doing, and more importantly, they're staying safe. Are there any updates or any changes, and this is kind of outside of that, for National Night Out coming up?
I don't know if that's on our schedule. I honestly don't know. We had to cut quite a few things, and I'm pretty sure that's one of the things that we are not doing this summer.
Bummer too, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yes.
And the stolen vehicles, are they still the same older model?
Yes.
How does it, so you're not seeing anything unusual as far as?
Nope.
Okay, still the same.
90 Hondas and Toyotas.
Are they, so are you finding that, are they unlocked, or are they just able to get into them? I mean, I don't know if more people
Well,
are
there's,
getting
for
unlocked.
that series, they
I know.
shave keys,
Yeah.
and they don't need to be unlocked. They can get in them pretty easily.
So my 94 Civic's in real trouble.
Do you have a club?
It's in greater
You need a
danger
club.
than other cars, yeah.
Do you have a
But
club?
with
In the
advancements,
trunk.
investments in security systems, stolen cars are going down all across the country. We're lucky to see that here, too.
That's pretty ugly, I don't know.
Any other questions?
All right.
Oh, I do have a question.
Mhm.
Chief, I thought there was something, is there some award ceremony or something that's coming up? this
Yeah,
year?
yeah,
I thought
yeah,
there was
yeah,
something
yeah.
towards the end of the month.
There is. Let me look that up.
I think
May
it's the
22nd.
23rd.
No, it's the
Yeah.
22nd. It's May 22nd.
22nd. I'm just gonna try to get that on my calendar.
Yeah, you all would have gotten an invitation, but we can resend that if you want.
3 to 6 at the Valley River Inn.
Yep,
It's the 22nd, what?
3 to 6.
3 to 6 at the Valley River Inn.
And what is it, and is it an award ceremony?
Yeah, it's our annual awards ceremony.
And I'm really glad
Try
you're
to make
having
that.
that in a larger public sort of way than you have been. And it's great.
Where was it before?
It's always at the City Hall or in a place where, places where it doesn't allow for a lot of people to show up.
Is your department doing anything special with the Dalai Lama coming in tomorrow?
Yes, we are. There's quite an extensive security plan there, which was put together with the State Department, EPD, Oregon State Police, University of Oregon Police Department, fire departments, and then all the UVO's event planners.
So do you get funding to cover? Okay.
Yes, we're. This might be the first time we've provided this level of security, and 100% of our time, even regular straight time, on-duty time, is being covered by somebody else. So when we get that paid for, I ask that they frame it, we put it on the wall like a first dollar bill, 'cause it's just how we have to do business now.
Yeah. Great. Oh, and I have one other question. So the person who was drunk that got ran over multiple times, does anything happen to them? Like, do they get charged with anything, or?
They might,
Okay.
but that'll be one of those times when we use some discretion.
Like,
decide
maybe the
whether-
2 cars was enough for them?
Yeah, they
Okay.
might learn from that. I don't know that individual, but I heard they might have a mental health condition to
Okay.
go along with everything else.
And
I was
was some alcohol involved too?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering when someone, I guess, endangers themselves, do any response costs get recovered from that?
No.
Or is it, okay.
Their medical expenses could be covered by, government medical institutions, but otherwise, no, we don't bill people for that.
Okay. So now we have a break, and hopefully Animal Services is able to come earlier, otherwise we'll be waiting for a while.
I got it.
I have my board meeting, my job.
Oh,
That's my meeting of my bosses.
nice.
Always a fun time.
We may be able to start.
Where are you working? I work for a nonprofit.
Which one?
Blaine Coalition for Healthy Active Youth.
Well, that's our name, Joe.
Yeah, it is.
Doing okay.
Tried to move them towards a name change, but they weren't ready for that.
Well, you know, a marketing guy that can help.
Yeah.
What do you do? You do marketing?
She's not here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I love it.
But we're gonna leave it.
From there to Mexico.
And
Figure out if
Like,
I
I
can
said,
Mexico.
how are you gonna do something fun tonight? You're just
Amy Daniels.
figure out a time. I'm like, oh, sorry.
So did I miss the discussion on meeting locations? Did we come to a
I gave up driving
The
a car 5
consensus
years
was.
ago.
Like Derek Adams.
Kate was like,
Conversation earlier.
Almost
I calculated my carbon output and said,
So it remains here.
5 years ago.
There was a late
I had a little red Miata at the time and sat there and
Yeah, we're really
dust
trained.
there's the occasional nasty day where I'm glad I got the bike. I'm not happy.
And the bike you're riding now, is that the one you'll take down the mountain?
That's okay. It's $500 bicycle. Had one for 32 years and ran flat crap. So replaced it very strong. For the wet weather around here, having disc brakes is great. The caliper brakes on the wheels didn't hold. Keep going. But, it's not a great bike. It's strong enough. But yeah, that's the big excitement in my life.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
I used to do that.
Oh, yeah.
You can do that with your bike.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not there.
I do enough riding. I mean, I'm not in great shape. But, when I get it done, hopefully I'll be finished.
Trying to make it find.
Yeah, the longest bike trip I took.
I almost parked there with you guys 3 years ago.
All over Europe.
Is he still with Brent though, right? Yeah. And I love Brent.
If I just go down the coast, this will be shorter. If I come up through the Cascades. I figured it's about time. I've been thinking about it for a long time. I'm like, okay. So that's the plan. It should be, by my birthday, it should be somewhere around San Simeon. You ever been to First Castle? No. I've driven up and down the coast several times. One of the places I like to stop is William Randolph built his castle. The stately pleasure of the tree. That's it.
So if I find a spot nearby, I'm lucky.
Yeah, it's, they figure it's what you could buy today for $1 billion.
Discuss something
I was
based
not,
on it.
that doesn't feel comfortable to me, so I'm saying if it doesn't feel comfortable to me,
And
women in
then
the
are you
general
gonna
public that
camp?
might come to our meeting
you
and
sleep on the ground, or-
are gonna feel comfortable.
Well, it's been mostly the camping. There's a lot of state parks going down along.
I know.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
There are some.
How much time do we have in this?
From you, they're gonna go try them out. So they're gonna go try
What?
the babysitting.
How much time do we have?
You've got that over there. I've got that over too. You know, I've got two assistant managers.
Did you
If they don't get the right answer out of one, they go to the other one. So we,
Okay,
Actually,
That was
Very perfect being consistent.
I just want to make sure I had it all right.
Okay.
Well, Carter yelling at
One's
me.
gone.
Now,
Check with
tell them to call up what they put in.
So usually say, well,
That's just my thing.
no, no.
They
Usually say, like, they go to Dan,
If you're an
and say, well,
RV.
I need to check with Sharon first before I.
If you're an RV,
You know,
yeah.
unless it's
but
something obvious, but no,
This is,
I need to check with Sharon
see,
first.
border to border.
They don't do it, they.
That's
what I'm saying, have they ever figured that out yet?
Well, you would
That's
think they would. But it doesn't mean they're gonna stop trying.
No.
And one of these times it's gonna slip through.
It's true, yeah, it's the way they.
Or they'll come to me and I'll say, let's talk to Sheriff, and let's talk to Dan and see what, Or I'll email them and say, hey, such and such approached me about this, what do you think?
How long is that?
Because they're working more and more with what day to day than I am, so.
You know, all the way to here? Yeah, about 1,400. My thought is what I would do is I would come in like this, go down through that.
Oh, you did it,
then come back up.
I was behind you at the light, coming over here, the hesitated for a second, you pulled the lights, and all you took off.
You know, and so that's.
And it might be more
Going down.
Really?
And then you pulled out like we must.
You know, it'll be more than 1 year.
I was talking to
But,
I would say, I don't care what restaurants downtown, I'm not going to.
actually, the last few days, I've been holding together this, I found some 65 inch wide bags, and so I made these big racks for like and I have a really nice inflatable from REI. I bought this 3.5 inches.
Yeah, that's it.
You roll up bed pad and then
6 years, so.
it's really,
Convertible. I'm done. Out of that.
yeah, it's really, and then a tent. And so a lot of the stuff that's pretty heavy is just kind of bulky.
Yeah, what?
And,
What's next?
so
What's the next big thing?
So I have plenty of room. I take the computer with me. I've got a book that I
Your daughter's in college, but work is important.
I'm looking for about 200.
Whatever they propose, the governor is still in effect 2016.
Out of the
Until one.
So the thing that I can't stay on the way is I got my battery.
My wife is retired, she was at State Farm.
Nobody bothers me, nobody.
38 small solar cell. Solar.
She has over
electric, which is enough to charge the thing. So I shouldn't need to, assuming that the system doesn't crash, I should be able to charge that. Be able to use it. Just by having
I could stress you out when you can
I
go
went
on
hunting
mental health.
about a month ago. I was looking at a little system where I would turn an alternator. Because an alternator, if you don't put a current in the field coil, it's not much of a load. If you put a current, then it generates electricity. So I figured, you know, I don't
Yeah, I mean, but,
you know. And so I sort of started looking on that, but then I thought about it some more. Somebody said, well, it's just a solar cell.
Yeah, she was so sick.
And I've got 11 really nicely packaged, fairly high efficient cells.
Of those 11
And I just put it up on the internet, and there was this little, 22 by 11, 21 by 11 panel with some fairly high efficiency cells. So they were
Well, I think it's
that's enough
I don't care the girl car.
that's enough that it should be able to keep the laptop charged so I can use it for 4 or 5 hours.
Someone
I've got it mounted on the front of the bike, so when I go south, I've got these, like I said, I got these big racks. Mounted on top of that.
Which I
And so when I go south, it's on the front of the bike. When I go north, I put it on the back.
So anyway, it's
And then the battery, that gives me a little extra charge.
I won't complain.
That way,
No, I
that way,
mean,
if for some reason
and I agree with you
it's
that
really cloudy or the like, I'll have.
there's pros and cons.
5 days or something.
Some people are
That's the
gonna
plan. And it's a lot, you know, I guess, with the battery is 12, so collectors aren't that much, they're about $5 a piece.
That's what I thought. I just
The racks
didn't know it was
are $10. And then the rest of the junk, just clothes,
Yeah, my wife
the
did
laptop, tent, pad,
Really cute, yeah.
like,
pillow.
She sends me a blank card every
Why would you do it on your off time?
It'll be good.
It's supposed to be
Hey,
done
sir.
during your
Good, how are you?
Looking forward
Did
to
you have
it,
a
so.
good time of the
I
sales?
wanted to do it, like I said,
Yeah, very nice.
Worthwhile?
Yeah.
Always found it
Yeah,
reasonable.
good.
A lot of learning.
It was a long day.
Yeah, well, I make some connections. Kelly Cohen, that's he's involved in Smart Gig Oregon.
Oh, okay.
I think the thing that made me
Something that E-Web is having, so that's an E-Web connection right there. It's like
Yeah,
to do some
it's like I gotta do something.
We're gonna talk about,
building of some lots.
find out what they do. Maybe some of those applications can be used, resources can be allocated to E-Web stuff.
An idle mind was a devil's workshop.
Yeah, so, how about you?
Yes, it was good. Yeah, particularly just getting my face in front of people.
Well, I grew up in Connecticut.
I didn't get safe for
But most of them, yeah, I
Yeah, well, I know that. I had one short glass of wine. So I had,
Some people don't. Paying for it.
Yeah, my mother was living in
Did she pick school? You were going around.
We narrowed down to
Friday night.
play basketball real hard.
I haven't talked to them.
I only have it on my
They're,
Call her.
they're one of them back down.
Yeah, they back. Call her.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't have, you know, they might have gone to see
how's everything going?
Doing good.
They would have done so.
A little bit tired tonight.
One of them likes big meetings. I wasn't really even.
It's a lot of meetings this week.
Yeah.
So Tim told me to lay down the law.
Yeah.
Well, I hope she got it.
Let them say goodbye to their favorite topic.
Hey, I helped for that box.
So, off to a slow start. I got 35 students this time.
What are you teaching?
He's a
This is diversity in the workforce, workplace diversity.
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to do
Where at?
I'm a professor at Bradford University, online.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. I just finished, I had a graduate course that I taught last term. That was,
Hi everyone, we're going to go back to break now.
some of the work, I
Start
want to
wrapping
say, how
up.
did you get to a graduate?
does it for snow. So, all the systems.
So my organization works on childhood
Gets
abuse.
exercise, you know.
My kids don't have to worry about that. I work at the store.
That's why I was giving those folks at the River Road Santa Clara meeting a hard time about not wanting
I don't want to buy
sidewalks.
a house.
Regarding that.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, it's-
I made them plan all this
We're gonna get out.
weekend. I made them.
Okay,
pick all
everyone,
the
so,
But they do shut down.
Bob,
No days, it's like if you're
Would it
out,
be
you
a-
get arrested.
An appropriate motion to move that the agenda be changed to allow committee reports prior to animal services.
I would love that.
I'll move that.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay,
Nay.
awesome, let's do it. So outreach,
Just what I got.
Joe?
Oh, outreach first. Okay, well, we had our meeting, and we have our 4 items. The first is a survey, and I got an email earlier today from Carter saying that so far we've had 37 responses on, was it something monkey, Survey Monkey?
Survey
Monkey. And 2 written responses, but I guess we're going to be collecting them until June 1st, so I suspect we'll get some more just before the end. The U of O forum clearly is not going to happen. We talked a little bit about an alternative to that. So I guess, you know, there's been some discussion about a video and the like, and people at the department are looking into that, and so we'll see what happens. I guess on the 27th, we have of June, we have the State of Public Safety Forum, which will be happening at the library, starting at 5:30. All of the folks that we invited have confirmed, and so all of our speakers are there. So it looks like it's moving ahead. One of the issues would be if you folks had questions, because we'll be taking questions from the audience on that event. But if some of the people on the commission want to submit questions ahead of time, then we'll have some sort of lined up, ready to go, or if you have particular issues, yeah.
What time?
It starts at 5:30 on the 27th. And we have to be out of there by 8, so we're going to try to wrap it up at 7:30 and boot people out of there. And, okay, and then, let's see,
Did it start at 6, Joe? I thought, I can't remember. Did it
Well, we
start
can't-
at 5:30?
It starts at 5:30,
Okay.
yes, because of the fact that we have to be out of there by 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, what's the fourth item?
Volunteers for the event.
Oh, yes, okay, well, I guess, yes, somebody to volunteer, and we did have a question about a moderator, so I don't know if that's ever been resolved. But I think your name came up.
Sorry, I can't tell you.
And I had to decline.
You have to decline. Okay.
I already told Carter, so she's on the hunt for a new person.
Okay, so we'll take that from there. And I guess, unless there's some questions, that's probably, oh, yeah, go ahead.
So, the one thing we do need, if commission members want to volunteer for assisting at that event with like gathering the questions from the audience, just as support, not in a role where you're having to, be in charge of anything, other than like, do we need to do even set up or any takedown? Maybe just the chairs?
Yeah, we'll have to move some chairs around and stuff, and we are responsible for the takedown, so if a couple of people could hang out at the end, that would be good.
Because unfortunately, there's only 3 of us on the committee, and I am on vacation that week. Joe may or may not be out of town that week. More likely out of town, Joe. And then, so that leaves Jim and Carter to sort of, and it's not that, much work to do, the way we've set it up. But, once we have the moderator in
Where's it
place,
at?
It's at the library. So we just need like some support for the commission. If you're planning on being there anyway, it would be great to have the commission members help with the small tasks. It's not like you wouldn't be able to participate or, thanks.
I'll be there. I'll help you also.
I'll be there.
Thank you.
How are you advertising for this?
Well, I guess there'll be, notices in the calendars and other papers and the like. We did go through a list of suggestions for doing that. There will be a press release released. I guess Carter's going to use there's somebody in the department who does these things, so they're going to push that out. And then there's a standard email list for all the regulars in the city. You'll probably even get one.
My goodness.
And so,
Official invite.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have, I guess, a list of, other interested groups in the community that will get notified.
With neighborhood groups.
Yeah.
Did you want, I'm sorry.
So so do you guys know who's on the panel? Did you want to?
That's what I was going to.
Oh, you can go ahead.
No, that's what I was
If
going to
can
ask, is
remember.
do we want to
So the
announce
chief.
it? The chief?
Someone from the DA's office, I don't know if you know who that is, I can't remember. Someone from the sheriff's office, Terry McDonald from St. Vincent de Paul. We have 6 panelists. Who else
Yeah.
is there? I can't think of.
Mark is there.
My notes.
Oh, Mark Isner?
Oh, Mark Gissner. Yeah, is that 6?
I think there's one more.
Chief DA. And Judge Allen.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, Judge Allen, that's it. Judge Allen, from municipal court, yeah. So it's a really good panel, and their topic will be, the state of public safety as it's affected their department. By then, we'll have the election and the ballot measures will either pass or not pass, so they'll be able to reflect on what that means for their departments as well. So hopefully it'll be a good forum.
But we'd definitely like some questions from the commission here, that at least if nothing else, as seed questions, to kind of get things rolling. If, a lot of times, it takes a little bit to sometimes get questions going, so if we can get some questions from you guys.
Yeah. So we're hoping for enough audience participation and turnout from the audience. They'll have lots of questions, but we want to have some prepared just in case it's a little slow getting started with the questions.
Great. So now on to policy screening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We don't have anything to vote on because May is one of those unique months when the first Tuesday fell right in front of the next Thursday, so we're meeting within 2 days, and Carter didn't have time to prepare anything for the agenda. It wouldn't have been time to publish it. But we did accomplish quite a bit at the last meeting, and I'm was very complimentary of our members on the committee for working hard at keeping focused on the task and getting things done. I think it was important that we tackle this. I would like to say, since it came up during the public forum, in regard to the trespass letter, I think we gave it a fair hearing. I think we gave it several months of hearings. There were speakers at every one of those sessions that spoke up. And they made their feelings well known. Now, I have been on the side of votes that didn't go my way, and I understand the feelings, and I understand how disaffected you might feel by that. But I firmly believe in democracy, and I believe in a lively debate. We had one. I think it was good. Debate is good. You wouldn't want to see 6-0 votes on everything that passes through our committee. We'd want to see people dissenting, and I would think that would be good for the process. So I think we did that. Where I'm lost is trying to reflect community values. To me, we were appointed by council to represent the committee from all different cross-sections of the city and different cross-sections of life. And I think we represent a lot of the community values. So sometimes when you hear from a singular activist or a couple of activists that believe strongly in what they believe in, and things don't necessarily go their way, it can seem like they're disaffected as well. And I just hope that they continue to support the work we do and not discount us as a commission, as I heard tonight, for our credibility based on the fact that we didn't vote their way. And I think it's important that we continue the process. That's my statement for today. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions on the committee's working?
And Bob, how many policies are coming out of the committee for next meeting?
There'll be 3 that we went through, and maybe 4, depending on next month.
So I'll send out a reminder, but it would be really helpful, since we have so many policies coming before, that people really take the time before the meeting to look over the policies. And I know there's some tension on those policies, so it'll be important for you to be able to keep up between the debate that is bound to happen. So again, just look for that and know that there'll be some homework before next meeting. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Animal Services.
Okay. I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Jay Shadwick, one of our administrative lieutenants, and Kelly Darnell, the program manager for Animal Services, who are going to talk to us about Animal Services.
Where would you like to sit?
Well, I have a little something to
Use the chair.
I was standing over here. When I was practicing earlier, I was standing back
Well, you want to just
You guys can both sit right here. We can move.
Do you want to use this? Do you want this change?
I don't know about these seats.
Can I use this?
Man here knows how to operate.
Jailbreak, huh? Maybe, yeah, you move out there really fast.
Yeah, you can, you can probably just. Thank you. Okay.
I just can't help
There we go.
my 2 favorite people.
How you doing, brother? Come on over. We won't bite.
We've got the yang, we've got the yang.
Mike and I are cool. Mike and I.
You both
Yes, sir. Yes.
No, he's to the left of
Oh, well, congratulations on
Pounds to the left of me. Joe good. To the right.
Just about bit. He did watch.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's fine.
No, these guys are the ones that are biting. I don't.
No, you bit me at
Oh,
the
okay.
chamber after hours event.
Did I?
met you, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's not a very good advertising. Over a couple of years, I'll talk to her.
All right, so other than Counselor Clark and Caitlin, I haven't met the rest of you. So my name is Kelly Darnell. I'm the interim animal services manager, and I was asked to come and give you an overview of animal services. We did include a report, a 6-month report of has anybody had a chance to take a look at that? Okay, so here's your, that's good. So our program started just in July last summer, so it's only been 9 months. And I thought it would take about 15 minutes to go over, have a view from space of what we're doing. And I know as police commissioners, you are asked to answer questions about police work. And certainly animal services may have been coming up. Anybody getting animal questions? Okay, this will hopefully help, and certainly if we don't answer your questions, we'll have time after. So I'm going to be talking about enforcement and licensing and shelter services. And throughout all of those things, I'm not going to touch on it, but throughout all of those areas, we have a lot of community outreach. It's a big part of animal services. And I think this little muffin who got out and wandered around and got lost and had to go to shelter is a good example of how these things work together. You know, on the enforcement side of things, somebody needs to go pick up that dog, not only for the dog's sake, but for people's sake as well. So, you know, traffic accidents don't happen, et cetera. So that's the enforcement piece. We need to have dogs with good licenses that are current. So ideally, we can take them straight home and not have to take them to the shelter. They would prefer that, apparently. And then a good shelter. So we need a good relationship with a shelter that can take our animals for us. And like I said, you know, community outreach is part of all of that. People need to know who to call for enforcement. They need to know what services we provide. They need to know how to license their dog. And they need to know how to get to the shelter, how to find if their pet is there, et cetera. So community outreach is part of everything that we do here as well. So I'm going to talk about enforcement first. Vacuuming has started. I spent 6 years in Parks and Open Space doing marketing and communications and 10 years in international relief work. So I was definitely no expert in setting up an animal services program. And this really landed here like a giant octopus, is sort of how I describe it. And, but I think, you know, we've rallied to the occasion. I'm definitely not an expert. I think Jay and I and the two animal welfare officers really lean on each other for that expertise. So we're going to try to answer your questions after, and I hope we get a lot of them answered. So we'll see, though. So on the enforcement side, a lot of people have asked me why animal services ended up in police. Not because they don't think it's a good idea, but they just were wondering, you know, how it ended up here. And I'm sure the chief has the whole backstory. But you know, essentially, I think it is a really good fit. I wasn't sure at first because I had never worked in a police department. I had never worked in animal services, but what I've found is that the officers, the animal welfare officers and the police officers, they've known each other for years. They've worked together for years. They've supported each other. When a police officer goes to a home with a dangerous dog, an animal welfare officer will be there to assist. And when an animal welfare officer goes to a home that may have a person that is potentially dangerous and they're going about an animal case, the police will back us up as well. So they've been working together for a long time, and now we actually are in the same building, and I think that we're really building on that relationship. And it's certainly, I think, seen its effect in the enforcement side of things, because Ted and Larry, they were at the county for many, many years, and one of the things I think that's changed is that they have much better officer safety. In the old days, you know, it was really pretty pen and paper. It wasn't uncommon for them to be out on call and not have anybody know where they are. So now they're very plugged in. They cannot leave their area without somebody knowing, and they are dispatched to the 911 communication center, so much more efficient. They got very good training when they started on officer safety. They took driving courses, and you know, they went through a pretty rigorous training program, and they really were thankful for that. They hadn't had good training like that in a long time, and I think they've really seen the benefits. And they also have now more updated programs in their vehicles, so much more modern way of working. So like I said, Ted and Larry, they have over 30 years of experience. So we were very lucky to get some seasoned folks. I think one of them even went on a call with you in your younger days, so they've been around quite a bit.
I saw the chief doing a ride-along with him, too.
Yeah, John Reese has done a ride-along, and Sarah Maderi and the chief, and I had the pleasure, and if any of you are interested,
Sweet.
It's really a fun time.
I don't think she meant that as a slam about the chief and his younger.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It was like 2 weeks ago.
I got my
Yeah, he was
forms
just
there, I'm ready.
green.
Yeah.
I got my forms.
You were younger, just a fact.
Ride-along.
Yeah.
I've never
So
done
one of
it.
their biggest things they respond to are dogs at large, as you can imagine.
David knows.
We respond to a lot of potentially dangerous dogs. You know, there's different levels of potentially dangerous dog, 1 to 5. We do have some that are very dangerous that we work with. And then sometimes we have, you know, a cute Cocker Spaniel that bites the postman just a little bit on the ankle. So, you know, it's kind of the full range. The county said that they had about 30 potentially dangerous dogs a year, but we had 40 just in the first 6 months, and it's kind of continued at that pace. So our numbers are showing much higher potentially dangerous dogs. They're also picking up injured animals, cats, dogs. We do a lot of work with abuse and neglect. I would say most of the people don't even really realize their animals are in that condition. They can barely take care of themselves and their kids. And so a lot of our work is just helping them recognize that this animal needs better care. But then sometimes we do get people that just really are being extremely neglectful of their animal. And so these cases take a lot of time. They're different than just picking up a dog and taking it to the shelter. They take a lot more work. They take a lot more follow-up checks with the owner to make sure they're doing what we ask and getting better food and getting the animal to the veterinarian. We do work with cats, but cats are free roaming, so they get to kind of go where they please. But we do pick them up.
Like cattle.
We have a real cat population. It's something we want to work harder on, getting those feral cat populations up and off the street. But they are free roaming, but we do pick them up when they're seriously injured or neglected, or hurt, excuse me. Well, and neglected too.
$5 a tail.
There are services that were not provided by the county for the city of Eugene that we do provide now, such as responding to barking dogs. I've talked to a few officers here that they've seen, many situations where neighbors are coming to blows over a barking dog. It really literally drives people insane. We've had people just desperate to make it stop. So for years, nobody responded, but we are responding, especially because there is that, it really is can make your livability in this community really low. So we do it as time allows, and certainly now that it's summer, it's going to be picking up. Yes?
What's the law? What's the ordinance?
You cannot be barking for more than 15 minutes straight.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Is there a time limit? Like, can they still bark for 15 minutes in the middle of the night? Oh, okay. It's just 15 minutes no matter when it is. Okay.
How many?
Not like the noise ordinance.
15, or if they bark for 10 minutes and then an hour later go for another 10 minutes?
I know, those are annoying, because they
What
really
it-
drive
what-
people crazy, but
It's legit?
Yeah, it's 15.
I mean, that's not,
So how do you prove it?
Well, go ahead. No,
Well,
go
what
ahead. Please
we've
go
found,
ahead.
especially with our officers that have been involved, the animal control officers, that to make a court case, they have to have 15 minutes of continuous barking. And what they've learned from that is doing things like recording the actual barking for that period of time. And it is kind of a long, drawn-out process. The officers do a good job of responding and giving warnings and talking to people when it's a problem. And they're really good at doing some of the just problem solving out there without having to take the enforcement action, unless it really warrants it. And we've had a few cases that, do warrant it because the dogs are, continually going on. But it's when you have neighbors that are or complainants that are taking the time to actually record this animal barking for 15, 20, 30 minutes straight, it's a problem. And that's one of the ways they prove it.
So the other service that's new, now that the City of Eugene is running animal services, is actually picking up confined strays. In the past, if you found a dog and you got it confined on your property, you had to be the one to transport it to the shelter. And certainly a lot of people do that, but as a mom with 2 little kids, if I'm able to wrangle some dog in my yard, I don't want to put it in my car with my kids and drive it to the shelter. So we will pick up those animals for people that just don't feel like they can provide that transportation. So that's a new service, and a lot of people are very grateful for that. I just put this picture in here because it's such a reminder of, that certainly Ted and Larry have those animal skills and getting those dogs, but the people skills are also so important, and I feel like they really have very good skills in that area. This is such a people business as it is, with police officers, and so a lot of these situations are very stressful, especially when it's around dog bites, and so being able to kind of calm folks down is a really important skill to have as an animal welfare officer. As far as kind of what's ahead for enforcement, we've been taking some legal classes and getting better skills on how to gather evidence and those kinds of things, especially around abuse and neglect. And so that's something that we're trying to strengthen. And then the other thing that's really important is there's such a connection between animal abuse and child abuse and spousal abuse. we've been approached by Kids First. Does anybody know Kids First in town? So they work with children that have been victims of child abuse. And they are really interested in seeing how animal welfare officers can kind of help be the eyes and ears for them if they see child abuse in the house. And so certainly sometimes Ted and Larry are the only people I've ever stepped foot in the home, and they're there about animal abuse. So how can we better cross-report that kind of a thing? And certainly a lot of animals are abused to intimidate other family members. So sometimes there's no child abuse yet, but it starts often with an animal. So that's something, that's an area where I hope we can improve our skills and do a better job of communicating. And then it's summertime, so a lot of people leave their pets in cars, and we get a lot of calls for hot dogs. Well, and Walmart did a fundraiser for us last summer. They sold hot dogs and promoted information about hot dogs.
I saw an ad today that said, "Don't cook your dog."
Was it for
I thought it was just gross, man.
Was it for leaving your dog in a car?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The next thing I want to talk about is licensing. Licensing is really important to the program. There's an estimated 40,000 dogs in Eugene, and I heard there's about 40% licensing rates. I don't think it's that high. I think it's much lower, but we want to increase those numbers for a variety of reasons.
You think the number of dogs is lower? Or the
I think the number of
percentage
dogs is probably right, but the percentage of licensing at 40% I think is
that's
probably
high.
That's like
That's
half
high.
of Eugene
Yeah.
with a dog has their license, and I don't think that's true. So it's really important for us to get these little critters, a good license in case they all decide to split from this vehicle and run separate ways. It's also really important because that revenue that we get from licensing really helps our program be more stable and not as dependent on the general fund. So we really want to increase that licensing. And it's good for the whole family. It's good for the dog that it gets back quickly, and it's good for the family. It's also helpful because to get a license, you have to have a rabies shot. I get calls from frantic parents who their child has been bitten, and when they say the dog has a license, there's kind of instant relief when I tell them that in order to get that license, they've had to have had a rabies shot at some point. So there's a public health and kind of reassuring the public piece to it. Our licensing system behind the scenes is done by Pet Data, a company based out of Texas that works with about 45 other communities, so they handle our licensing work. It took us a while to get this sorted out, and we just actually sent out all renewal letters from last July. We sent them out a few weeks ago. It's about 8,000 renewal letters went out, so we're starting to see money rolling in finally for licensing, which is exciting.
I went to your website, and I don't know whether I ever got my dog license. I went to your website, and just as I started finally, it crashed.
Oh, in the city site?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, well, we did have a way to license online, and a lot of people were doing it, and I didn't hear of anybody having it crash. But now everything's switched over to Pet Data, and they have a very robust site, so you can license online there.
Is the budgeting still that there's a revenue share up to a certain ceiling, and then the rest of money from licensing goes back to the agency? There used to be, because we used to talk about this in budget committee, how the revenue share was based on a formula, so that up to $250,000 got split with the agency, and then after that it all went to the general fund. Do you happen to know if that's still the case?
Do you guys have a snappy answer?
Well, the money from licensing goes to the general fund, but the more we make in licensing, the less dependent we are on the general fund.
But when we were contracting with Lane County, there was an incentive for them to
Right.
license, and we
Oh,
thought
right.
about changing the model, and we're
That's why I'm
going to
asking.
more
Okay.
licensing. Now, we're trying to fund the program as much as possible with licensing, so 100% of it comes back to the city of Eugene. Aside from that, which we pay for the contract.
Right, then the contract for first.
Because we're doing it all now rather than splitting the dollars with the, all right, I got it.
We're funding 100% with our services. We got a contract with Green Hill for First Avenue, like the other two
Right.
agencies.
Okay, thanks.
So if you Google Eugene dog licenses, it will take you to this site, probably?
It'll take you there, or it'll take it to our dog license page, which is one more click to get there. So, coupled with a really great partner at Pet Data and sending out a whole bunch of renewal letters, we're going to be launching a licensing campaign. It's going to start in a week, and it's about licensing your Eugenian. And what we're doing is we're getting pictures of local celebrities, a wide variety, with their dog. And so it's posters. We're doing a public
That's Storm and
service.
Steve in there too.
What? That's right.
I saw some of these already.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
No, I said, don't ask me.
Yeah, no.
It's celebrities and rising celebrities, so you might be able to do
Seriously?
this someday.
Steve Hauser.
Oh, I couldn't see from the same.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
There's one with Stormy and with Steve
Yes,
Tannenbaum.
so there's a
and-
slug queen,
Yeah.
so it's kind of a wide variety,
Yeah.
and then we have
Yeah.
Storm Kennedy and Steve Tannen. We did the staff of Ninkasi yesterday with their dogs, and
An unhoused person, maybe?
pardon me,
How about an unhoused person and their dog? That's been brought up in the media.
an what?
Unhoused, a homeless person.
Oh.
Are they a celebrity homeless person?
You know, I actually thought about that. You know, that was a thought at one point. You know, I can see that happening.
Well, if that's not
So
straight.
I feel like this is a campaign that we can do over and over. So it's posters and bus ads and a 30-second spot on ABC that's going to air several times, etc. So the goal is to both encourage people to license their dog, but also let them know that the revenue actually does go to support the program. Did you have a question?
How much is the license fee for a year?
It depends. You know, it's $15 for 1 year right now. If you have a spayed or neutered dog.
Okay.
Oh, you
If
guys
you
really
don't-
cutting yourself short. There's many people with dogs here.
No, I
It's
know.
their
I
babies,
agree.
it's their kid.
I agree. That's exactly. That's so true.
Well, you have to modulate getting them to pay the
Yeah.
license fee and
Yeah.
getting them to say it's too much. I'm gonna
Right.
skip
It's really tricky. They haven't been raised since 2004.
And it's the third rail of Lane County politics.
And it's more if your dog is not spayed or neutered.
It is
Yeah.
more.
How much?
I think it's 25. It's like $70 for 3 years if you. Oh, you're gonna get that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Assistant. No, I can't read it. So
Yeah,
I don't have my
I'm
glasses.
trying to- For 1 year.
Oh, you do?
For a non-altered dog, for a 1 year license, it's $35. And for, if your dog has been fixed, it's spayed or neutered, it's $15 for the 1 year.
I think that's it on that. And then the First Avenue Shelter, this is where we take our animals. We take dogs and cats. We took a calf last summer that was found in a car after a couple days in 90-degree weather. Yes. A white, we've taken some chickens in, and so mostly dogs and cats though. But this partnership with Green Hill Humane Society and their running of the First Avenue Shelter is key to us and the success of our program. We need a good, solid place to take these animals. And like us, they started their program July 1st, 2012 as well. And like us, they didn't have a ton of experience really in how to run a public shelter. So like us, they've been learning as they go as well and are kind of getting to the point where we are. We're feeling pretty stable and on solid ground. And it's like we know what we're doing now, so that feels good. These are their stats since July 1st. This is total. Wait, you know what? I think I missed one. Oh, that's Larry and a dog. I just want to mention that we have a contract with them, and so does the city of Springfield and Lane County. So they have contracts with all of us. And these are their stats just since July 1st. This is overall between Springfield and the county and us, but we have the vast majority of those numbers. You know, in most months, we'll bring in 40 dogs, and the county will bring in 7, and Springfield will bring in 3. And so we are definitely the biggest client of the shelter. And yes.
That live release percentage is since July 1? Or is
Yes.
that, okay.
Mm-hmm. That's overall. We have a contract with the shelter, and there's various things spelled out in there of what they need to do. And one of the things that they need to do is have an overall live release rate of over 90%. And the animals that are being euthanized, many of it are health reasons, and there have been a few, though, that it's behavioral, but mostly it's been health.
What would be the effect if we were to ask them to increase that rate?
The effect? Well, honestly, I think you would have more dangerous dogs going out into the community. That's my gut on that. there's that pressure to not put any dog to sleep. And some of these dogs are quite dangerous and don't live very good lives because they have to be so kept from anybody or anything. And so if there's too much pressure on them to up that too much, then I think you would see some animals going back out into our neighborhoods that could be dangerous.
The reason I ask that is that Claire and I probably get, I don't know, 10, 15 emails a day maybe?
Depends on the day.
Yeah, okay.
From people who are yanked
From-
around about the idea that pets are being killed that don't need to be.
The one thing about the shelter is, and maybe Kelly can expand on more, is how much they already do with these animals, including behavior modification, training with the animals that come in, and a lot of fostering out of animals to different people and to different shelters, working as hard as they can to try to get the animals to either behave or learn to behave. And when it comes to euthanization, it's definitely the last straw.
It really is. I mean, they've had dogs in there for 6 months. They've just worked so hard, and yeah, and those emails, I get those emails too, and it really is from about 6 people. It's Tamara, it's Nancy, it's I know them all. In fact, I went to Nancy's house and we had tea the other day for an hour and a half, and she doesn't love everything, I think, but she thinks we're being somewhat reasonable, and that's the best we can hope for.
Well, there's progress.
So,
All right.
but it could change any day, it could go right back. So it is about 6 people. There's sometimes a huge list that are CC'd. Many of those people don't even live in this town, in this country, so keep that in mind.
The other thing with euthanization and those figures is to remember that some of the cats that come in that have feline leukemia are counted in there too, and they're not animals that are, for health reasons, could be released into the public. So there's, the stats alone are not just the dogs that come through. We'd like to adopt.
The cats are the hardest part, really. The dogs, it's a very, it's like, I think it's 97% for dogs, and it's maybe 87 for cats. It's those big litters of kittens and, lots of cats with feline leukemia, and that's been those are the ones that often get euthanized, so as part of our contract, we have a lot of things in there about how, good, have food and clean environment, and the dogs are getting walks, and so we have a number of things spelled out of what we want them to do for these animals. We don't tell them exactly how to do it, and that's up to them, but we talk about what we want to see for these animals. We want to have a good volunteer program and a robust foster care program. One thing that's been a lot of work is that facility is very old. We've had to put a lot of the city of Eugene, even though it's owned by Springfield in the county, the city of Eugene has been the one paying for all the repairs there. And so we put in a new heating system, we've put in different doors and repaired broken this and that. So a lot of funds and time have gone into just that facility just to kind of get it to a point where it's stable. And so our stats that we get from Green Hill, they're posted every month up on the website. It includes all the information about animals that have been euthanized, and we also have all of their protocols for euthanasia and their volunteer program and foster program. So we really are trying to be transparent with the public and make sure that information is out there. We do have an animal services policy. It's still going through some internal review. I think a copy is in your packet, but it hasn't come, I guess, come to you yet officially. I don't know if you talked about this yet. Okay, so we have a customer to be on this focus group.
George was here.
Customer, a volunteer, they're called.
Okay. That's great. So what,
I need to know the time and.
Okay.
No, I just blindly volunteered.
He needs to know what time.
Oh, it's 9 to 5, and I will send out an email.
Being
All
busy.
day. We have people coming from other areas. We have the head of the shelter in Portland coming, and so we wanted to spend the whole day together. Just dive in.
Switch.
Yeah, got it.
So we're looking forward to
9 to
getting that
5, you
input.
say?
9 to 5, and I'll send you out an invite.
Yeah,
So,
it'd just be
I've
nice.
heard you tonight booked on the 22nd, the 24th, and the...
9, and where is it at?
We don't know yet. We're working on it. I have 2 more weeks to figure that out. So, like I said,
Carter has contact information, so we can put that in.
So, like I said, I'd never worked in police. I didn't know any police officers, which I guess is maybe a good thing. Nothing serious has happened in my life. But I've just been really impressed with how kind they've all been. I mean, like I said, this was a really big octopus. Nobody really understood it at first, and everybody's been really gracious about it and helped us learn. And I'm really impressed. And
I've got a question for you.
Yes.
I have a bird sanctuary at home. I feed the birds and
okay.
very pretty, and I have these I guess they kill billions of birds a year. They're called cats.
Oh, yeah. Cats, yeah.
Cats.
Oh, I know.
And the neighbor cat just loves to come over and pounce on these birds. I guess that's nothing you can do, really, is
They
it?
dig in my garden.
Well, I think there's a lot that, I think there's things
No,
that
you
can be done
can't
out there
bounce on
about
the-
cats.
bounce on
We
the
haven't
cats.
gotten there yet, but I think, right now there's no limit on the number of cats you can have, and
Now, I've got an electric squirrel on fire.
we recommend
High pressure tip on the water hose, brother. Trust me on this one.
Motion sensor.
Electronic
Sprinklers.
Yeah.
I've seen those, yeah.
We have the cats.
High pressure
So-
tip on the water hose.
I recommend those sprinklers that,
Motion sensor.
yes.
This line.
Anyway, so it's been good being over here at EPD. I feel like I've learned a lot. And, I'm driving a lot slower, so I don't need to go over to my colleagues now. It'd be really great.
Don't you get a get out of ticket free card?
No, I think
No, you get mercy.
I just get teased when I get back to work on Monday. So,
That's why we can see it.
so we can answer questions now. which is good.
All right, well, thanks.
Yes.
I had a question about, sorry, Claire. Sorry.
Thanks. So when you were talking about new services, I don't know that you specifically said that, you said, isn't dog at large, responding to dog at large calls also a new service?
No, they always did.
'Cause when-
But I think it's more robust
All right,
now.
because
I
when
think I would
it
say
was
that.
still under the county, I had called about a dog running through my neighborhood all summer. And they said, oh, no, if you catch him, we'll take him, but we're not going to come out and try to catch him. We don't do that anymore.
Mhm.
So, but then I know now we do, so I thought that was new.
We do pick up dogs at large.
Yes, it's great. I'm sure First Avenue works with veterinarians. Does your side of the thing work with vets at all? Do you interact with?
Most of our work is with the emergency vet clinic in Springfield, and then there's one in Eugene. And we cover the cost of animals that have been hit by a car and have no owner. And so I get a lot of calls, day and night about an animal that's been hit and kind of trying to figure out what we're going to do with that animal.
Wow.
And you're right, the shelter has a vet on staff there also.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and
when
I
an
can-
animal's brought in.
And I can call Gail, if I have questions. And then we also work with all the vets in the community for license sales, because most of our local vets sell them, so.
Yeah, and
Surrounded
like
by vets.
2 or 3 months ago, I think there was still confusion out there that vets were saying, some vets were saying, oh, you don't have to license your dog anymore, the shelter's closed.
Right.
But I think that's turning
That's
around.
not true. Yes, they do. Uh-huh.
And then you mentioned about feral cats, and I recall seeing in a newsletter from the Public Works Department about feral cat management at, I think, the wastewater treatment plant. And they were talking about, rather than just picking up all the cats and taking them away, which would leave a vacuum where a new feral cat colony could come in, they manage them through the spay and neuter program.
That's right, yeah.
So they would take them, they'd spay and neuter them, the ones they could catch, and then they'd put them back and let them kind of fill that space and deal with vermin and the things that, the positive things cats can do
Right.
without reproducing.
Yeah, a managed feral cat community can be quite fine. It's just all of the unmanaged feral cat colonies that are.
So is that part of the animal services that you provide too, or are you guys more about, there's one cat that's feral and we're gonna take care of that?
No, we're trying to work harder with Green Hill on addressing the feral cat issue, and part of that is the officers picking up the cats with kittens early so they don't breed more. We certainly help back up Green Hill when they do trap, neuter, and release, big trap, neuter, and release programs, but I think the biggest change that we're looking at right now is the officers never really picked up a litter of a feral cat and her kittens, and that's the perfect time to stop that cycle, because that one kitten, that one group is going to be 10,000 cats, and so it's not a massive change, but if we can start trying to get those mama kittens or mama cats and their kittens up and off the street and get the cats adopted, that's at least starting to
And the city still has the spay and neuter clinic, which we support through a percentage of the licensing fees that come in. So a small percentage of each license is sold goes towards helping to fund that clinic as well.
And then I just want to say, in terms of what Councilor Clark brought up about the no-kill advocates, I really appreciate you finding time to meet with them and try and do some direct outreach with them, because I think it's a really challenging situation, and I can imagine that puts you in a tough spot. So I appreciate you doing that work.
Yes, yes. You know, I think when you sit down for coffee, things get a little bit better. So, not perfect. You're like,
Some of those
no,
people are
no,
rapid.
no, there's a couple. I'm not going to meet with Tamara. I'm not going to meet with, you know.
They really
But, for the ones that have
It's not me, just so
waved
you
a
know.
tiny white flag.
Not me. Don't care.
Okay, so we're gonna go just around the table since just about everyone has a question. I politely ask that you stick to 3 questions or less. Otherwise, we will go over time. And if you can go less than 3, that'd be super. Okay. So, Mike.
Mayor's not here to mock me for this one when I was asked about these animals.
I can take your
Go ahead, please do. One of the biggest problems in Ward 5 in north central Eugene is nutria. And I'm wondering, what do you do when you get a call that says, there's 3 big orange toothed critters in my front yard leaving droppings?
I have him call Bobby Cook. He owns a company called Countryside Wildlife, and he's great. He will come out and trap the nutria and take them away.
Live trap and then release somewhere else? Is that what they do?
No, I don't think you can live release nutria. There's very few. If somebody calls and says they have a raccoon on my property, it's stuck under my house, I love this raccoon, can you come get it and put it on my front lawn? But we will do that for you.
Right.
But if you say, I don't ever want to see it again, we will take it away.
I see.
What's the business called again?
Countryside Wildlife.
And good luck with that.
Okay. I thought a bounty.
When we get to my story, I'll tell you about mine.
Yeah, you're right.
No.
$5 a tail.
What about possums?
Thank you.
We got those 2.
George?
Question being, when is a dog at large? You own your sidewalk even though you need to maintain your sidewalk. If a dog is on a sidewalk, is it at large?
Yes.
But it's your own property, is it not?
This is public.
It's a public access,
Public
but you...
thoroughfare.
It's not your property. It's public
If it's
right
on
of way.
your lawn, next to your sidewalk, it's different, but on the sidewalk is at large.
Any sidewalk repair you need to pay for, though.
I know.
It has to do with, the safety of the public and who, if people are allowed, they can't walk on your lawn legally, but if they can walk on the sidewalk in front of your home,
Your dog.
and you have a vicious dog, they are subject to being hurt. So the reason that, that's why they become at-large once they reach that public area that you described.
Feels like a sitcom.
I have one, follow-up to that is that, there's some dogs that are dangerous, and that's, one thing, but I'm realizing there's a lot of people just terrified of dogs. They had a bad experience as a child or whatever, and so we really want to honor the fact that there are people just terrified. I have a lot of people that call and say, but my dog is so nice, I just want to run it off leash in the park, it won't hurt anybody, but for me, as a mom with little kids, if somebody comes with their off-leash dog to the park, I'm really leery, so.
That's all.
James?
Pass.
Bob?
So apparently Springfield gets all the play with their police officers picking cats out of the river and finding little baby possums and getting on the news and all that sort of stuff. But my question was about, I think, the nutria thing. Do you take wild animals too, or that only cats and dogs?
No, we don't, but, Larry saw this possum the other day that was kind of injured and took it off and kind of put it somewhere safe so it wasn't gonna get hit by a car. And so sometimes we do things like that.
Okay.
To be nice.
But Kelly fields a lot of calls from people that have that kind of question, and she has a pretty good referral service for people. So when they do call in, that usually it's not just there's nothing we can do and hang up. There's wildlife rescue, and it's just she's got some contacts with some private contractors as well.
So back in '04, when the licensing fee was established, do you know how they determined those rates?
I have no idea.
Do you plan on looking at those again? When?
In July.
Okay.
We've actually looked at other communities of similar size and what their fees are, and that's kind of under study right now.
Okay. Great, so will that process be public?
I don't know what the process is for.
City manager, it's an administrative decision.
Yeah, I suspect the city manager would look at it and either, I don't know if the city council would have to approve it, if it's like, you know, changing the stormwater fee. But I think we talked about it at the last budget committee when the last budget was approved and this whole situation was set up, and we basically said, let's not do anything about the fees right now, let's let this settle down and then look at it.
Right now, we're really low. If you look at other cities of our size in Oregon and Washington, we're quite low. If we raised it maybe 20% across the board, it would put us kind of right in the middle. So.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, my question's about licensing. So, did you get all the data transferred from Lane County when, about licensing?
We did.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure that was something they shared. And what about, is there a chip program at the First Avenue shelter? Do they chip the dogs and the cats that come in?
Yeah, you have to pay for it, but yeah.
Oh, so if they're strays though, how does that work?
Do
They can scan for a chip, but they don't automatically chip them.
Oh, they don't?
I don't know if they get chipped when they, I know every dog that leaves the shelter has to have a license.
Right.
I don't know, I don't think it has to have a microchip, but maybe they provide that.
No, you gotta pay for that.
That's
extra. So does the adopting family pay for, I mean, I guess what I'm asking is it mandatory? Because I know in some communities it is.
To have a license or to?
Every sheltered animal leaves with a chip.
No.
In some communities.
I don't think they have to have a license though. Okay.
I just got a new dog in September and we got him licensed, and we chipped him, but it wasn't a requirement.
Okay. Thanks.
It's kind of our limit. Okay.
George, I just told Linda about, we have a lot of birds in our backyard too, a lot of squirrels. Cats come and visit. We have them trained, the two that come visit all the time, we have them trained that when I flick the sliding glass door in the back to, I just flick the latch like I'm gonna go out, they take off running because I've already trained them that I'm coming out. So they think I'm coming out. Of course, that's only when I'm home. So
I've trained the deer to stay out of my garden.
We also had raccoon problems in our backyard. We had a mother and her babies that came and fortunately they were eating in our backyard. We heard that we were fortunate that we were not their restroom, because that's a lot worse.
Yeah.
We did manage it was a mother and 4 babies. We managed to finally get all 4 babies. Could never catch the mother. So we expect that we'll probably have problems again, since we're obviously their food route. We also caught a few possums, a couple cats.
Wow, yours killed.
Even a crow, and a couple squirrels along with. So we caught all kinds of things.
Caught a
That, we released their, the crow got in. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And now for my questions, I think. One more comment. We do have a feral cat community at work. We've managed to have somebody come out and always catch them if we get a new one. We haven't had a new one for a long time, but to take them and get them fixed and then bring them back, and we take care of them, and they pretty much probably take care of the vermin around the place. So we haven't had any vermin problems, which is nice. Since we live right next to a big open field, or not live, I'm sorry, work right next to a big open field next to the state police off of I-5. So so far so good. Now for the questions. I noticed in the report that it said in fiscal year 14 that there'll be about 130,000 less that will be part of your budget. Do you know how or 130,000 less than what you're receiving right now from various other areas? Do you know how you're going to make that up? Will that all come out of the general fund again, or?
We want to improve license sales.
Do you anticipate that it'll make that much up?
I think the ultimate goal is really to get it to, cover 50% of our program costs. And if our licensing rates really are more like 20%, many communities have gotten it up to 70%. And if we can show some success in the next few years with licensing, that will help stabilize our budget.
Yeah, we've tried to really project out both in the amount of sales that we would be required to do to decrease the counting on the general fund. And that's part of the reason we're going so hard with the marketing campaign, to try to get people to comply with that.
For
We're
us,
hopeful.
yeah, and for us, just getting somebody in the door to get that initial license is so key, because then we can just keep sending them letters and keep their information updated, so, where to find them if they find their dog.
And you mentioned feline leukemia.
Mhm.
I know that my understanding is that's very, very contagious.
Mhm.
When you bring in cats, do you quarantine them for a while before releasing them into the general public? Not general public, but the general cat public.
The shelter quarantines them.
Until it tested,
Ideally,
or-
especially with cats, especially with, cats coming in, not necessarily, well, for feral cats, they would prefer that if you find an animal that's a stray, to actually kind of bring it in, have it tested, and then take it away for 2 weeks also while it has its shots and before it comes back into the shelter. So
Oh, good.
they work
Okay.
really hard to not, cross-contaminate these animals.
But they do have a quarantine area that they can keep the cats that they don't have any choice in but keeping, so.
Okay. And now my last question. Do you have many pet owners that initiate calls that, I know you commented in the report about picking up a lot of animals that for people that can't even take care of themselves. It's pretty hard for them to take care of an animal. Do you get a lot of calls? The people that say, "Hey, I can't take care of this animal anymore."
It's a lot of the people that seem to fall in that category are people that we respond to their residents for various reasons. That oftentimes it's a neighbor that calls, and it does happen. You might be able to get better percentages than I, but there are people, we've seen it both ways, where they literally can't take care of themselves, let alone their animals. And then we've also had that they don't seem to take care of the animal by choice. So I'm not sure if the question is exactly what.
What I was wondering is, do people determine, hey, I can't take care of this animal anymore? Are they calling you?
People sometimes call, and you try to give them tips on, how to put an ad on Craigslist and those kinds of things to try to help them. It's not very common, but it does happen. Also, Green Hill Humane Society, their private humane society, does take owner surrendered animals, so that's an option there. So just try to be encouraging to them to talk to family, talk to friends, and see if they can find a new home.
Okay, good. Those are my 3 questions.
Justin?
There seems to be a sudden change in what these standards are for abuse and neglect throughout the country. Definitely seems to be in Oregon, there's an increase in prosecutions of people who didn't take their animal to a veterinarian. What is going to ensure that the standards, where do the standards come from? And one worry I have with the police department enforcing this is that they're a bigger enforcement arm, and cops would come in with their own idea about what's okay. I used to work for child welfare, and child welfare's got its idea, and then the police department's got a different idea. The standards aren't always the same, and you've got 2 experienced enforcement officers right now, but next some idyllic person can come in after these guys retire and have their own ideas about what abuse and neglect is in animals. How do we protect people from overzealous prosecution?
Well, I think it's true that, especially in Oregon, or in the country really for that matter, I think people are working harder to try to prosecute people for cruelty and abuse and neglect. And I don't know, do you want to take any
I think
shot
that
at the second part of it?
One of the things is that, as far as standardization of that as Kelly mentioned during the earlier presentation, we're trying to do a lot more training with the officers, with the animal control officers, as well as trying to integrate that with our patrol personnel who could respond on these cases as well. With that, when we do work on abuse cases, we work with the veterinarians, either emergency vets or the vets at the shelters. And the vets are very conservative when it comes to labeling an abuse on an animal, to where we recognize that if we're going to take any kind of a prosecution step, then we need to have a case. We need to establish probable cause that a crime has been committed. And when we have a vet that will say, no, it doesn't appear there's an issue here, then we don't have a case, and thus we're not going to go forward with any kind of an abuse case on that. So I guess the best way I can answer that is that it would be difficult for an individual to become overzealous and take heavy enforcement action because they have to have a number of things in their corner or working with that, and that includes having veterinarians. And we found that they, like I said, they're very conservative in making those kind of assessments, but they're also pretty consistent, so that it's not going to this vet and he says, oh, that animal, it's in terrible shape, and then you take that animal to this vet and they see something different. They're pretty consistent in how they measure any abuse on the animal.
And where are the standards that the enforcement officers work within? Do they have guidelines?
There's code about what's abuse 1 and 2, neglect 1 and 2, and so, those are in our city code. They follow those rules.
We have a case that we had yesterday where a person beat his dog inside PetSmart to the point where the tooth is knocked out. With 5 witnesses. That one's pretty easy to show there's some abuse to. We've had calls where a person has struck their dog and there's no visible marks. That one's a tougher one. And again, we're not, what we found, especially with these experienced officers, they're not jumping in there unless they have lots of witnesses and lots of facts to back up that, yeah, this wasn't somebody that swatted their dog because it got in the trash can. This is somebody that was actually beating their animal. And I guess that's the best way I can answer it, is each case is looked at individually, just like any crime that a police officer might investigate, and it would be hard for an officer they're not going to go out and make up facts. You have to go with what you have in front of you. And if you have a tooth that's knocked out of the mouth, you have a pretty obvious case. If you have an animal that it's not whimpering, it's not crying, it doesn't appear to be in any kind of pain, you may not have a case that you can go forward on.
And do enforcement officers have a civil ability to take pets away?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to seize the animal, yes they do.
And those standards wouldn't be the same as a criminal prosecution.
I'm sorry, I don't
Those
understand.
standards would not be the same as needing beyond a reasonable doubt to prove neglect 1 or 2 for criminal prosecution. You can step into someone's life and take their animal away.
No, without taking some enforcement action. In other words, they wouldn't be able to go up and say, I don't like the way you're treating your dog, I'm going to take your dog away from you and take the shelter. If they are going there and I've cited you for abuse of your animal or for owning a potentially dangerous dog and you're not complying, in other words, there's already a case that's forward, then they would have the authority to seize that animal. Happens very, very rarely. Everybody's effort is trying to keep the animals united with their owners. That's everybody's goal, including, and for no other reason, for a business sense. It's expensive to keep an animal in the shelter, and if it's safe for the animal and safe for the public, we want the owner to keep that animal with them.
Also, we have a contract with Carrie McIntyre, you know Carrie? Who teaches at the State Police Academy, and she also has worked with the District Attorney's Office and has been a prosecutor with the city. And so she goes to judges and prosecutors and asks what we need to know about all the areas of business. And her job is to train our enforcement officers and what the kind of guidelines that you're asking about. So if you have a concern about this, if you let Carrie know about your concern, and we can do that too, having heard your questions, then she'll just be aware of it, that we need to make sure we've got clear guidelines for officers on how they enforce these kinds of regulations.
And that's a good point from the chief, because Carrie actually was we had a meeting with her.
We had training with her.
And we have another one scheduled also.
Yeah.
So we
You could have
did
heard.
ongoing stuff.
So the criminal justice system lets us know when we're going too far. And Carrie is one of the vehicles for letting us know when we're overstepping what criminal justice thinks our limits should be.
And we're also staying within, national trends. All the officers attended an animal abuse conference recently where different cases were presented about what you have and what you don't have, including some prosecutors that presented, as well as just some guidelines on everything from animal abuse to hoarding cases, things like that. So we're trying to make sure that we stay within the national trend of animal control, just like we do law enforcement.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming. That was an
We went a little
excellent
long,
presentation.
sorry.
No, that was good.
Beauty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
So with that, our meeting is adjourned.
That's it? Oh, wow, that was fast. Good job. I no longer need to ask you the budgetary question I was going to ask you. I was just
Thank you.
Also,
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks so much.
good to know when we're.
Next month, I think I
Pleasure being on commission with you.
Yes, sir, it is. How's McIntyre doing?
He's obviously keen to know not to sit next to you. So his hair looks too new on the commission to know not to sit next to you. Unless he's
All I know, what I really know, is to sit across from this guy.
You'll get blamed for yourself.
If there's this.
Yes, everyone here is all right.
Rental housing place, it's not like mobile homes, but there's a little house, little,